Welcome. President Christopher L. Eisgruber, the 20th president of Princeton University, will preside over this, the 274th commencement. President Eisgruber.
The invocation will be pronounced by Dean Bowden.
Please join me in a spirit of prayer. As we come towards the end of a most trying time, of losses of many kinds, of dear ones gone, life plans rerouted, precarities, anxieties, griefs, let us know ourselves to be walking through an annus mirabilis, a year of wonders, of friendships whose constancy cannot be shaken, loves that endure even beyond the grave, cries for justice that grow in power, of compassion shown to the stranger, and beauty discovered within fragility and loneliness, of strength and resilience rewarded in a stadium. Wonders indeed, priceless revelations, grace. Amen.
It is my pleasure, on behalf of Princeton University, to welcome you to this morning's quite unique commencement ceremonies. And if I may say so, it is wonderful to see you, to really see you in person, and you all look awesome. That was not in the script, but you look great. You may sit down if you like. I would like to extend warm greetings to families and friends who have gathered both inside this stadium and beyond it to celebrate with the recipients of advanced degrees from Princeton's graduate school and the graduating seniors of the great Princeton University class of 2021. I want to extend a special greeting to those who are watching virtually this morning. My own son graduated from college last year when all ceremonies were virtual. My wife and I huddled in front of a laptop to watch his online graduation while he sat by another computer more than 1,000 miles away. It was, to say the least, not what we had imagined or wanted. To all of you now watching from outside the stadium, I know how much you would like to be here in person, and I'm sorry that we have not been able to accommodate a larger number of guests. I am grateful to you for being with us in spirit and for respecting the restrictions that we had to impose to comply with public health guidance. The guests who are watching virtually today and the guests here in the stadium are all an essential part of the achievements that we celebrate today. I am certain that all of our students would agree that they could not have made it to this morning's celebration without the support of family and friends who helped them along the way. I would accordingly ask at this time, I want to ask you to stand and do that. I want to ask you to stand at this time, our graduating students. Rise and applaud your parents, grandparents, other family members, and friends inside this stadium and beyond it to thank them for the extraordinary contributions they have made to the accomplishments honored in today's ceremony. Thank you. I want also to recognize that not all of our friends and family can be with us today, even virtually. This day of achievement comes in a year of heart-wrenching loss. Our campus community grieves the tragic deaths of Kevin Chang of the class of 2023 in late April and doctoral candidate Cassidy Yang in December. Many families here have lost loved ones over the past year. Please join me now in a moment of silence to remember and honor those who are no longer with us today. Thank you. Finally, I would like to acknowledge the hundreds of faculty, students, staff, alumni, and volunteers who have enabled us to get through one of the most challenging years in the history of this university. I would like to call out for special thanks this morning the many staff members from throughout the university whose creativity, skill, dedication, and hard work have made today's event possible. I would also like to recognize Associate Secretary Christine Gage and Executive Director of Campus Support Services Nick Robinson for their diligent oversight and logistical support of our commencement ceremony. And finally, I would like to give a special shout out to your new honorary classmate and our COVID-19 incident commander, Robin Izzo, age 21, the Executive Director of Environmental Health and Safety, who has worked tirelessly to support the health and safety of our campus community throughout the pandemic. Please, everyone, join me in thanking these dedicated Princetonians. The Latin salutatory will now be delivered by Lucy S. Wong, a senior from Marietta, Georgia.
Crora tendite nam ultimus actus ordinis bis millesimi vicesimi et unius in scaenam Princetoniensem venet. Hac die felicissima convenimus ut victorias huies ordinis magnae celebremus. Carissimi sodales, quamquam ab his sedibus vere proximo descesimus, et terris iactatis sumus et alto, quam proquo venerimus aspicite, quam numen somni alitis vitavimus, et longis noctibus dianam obliquo coram tramite agentem conspecimus, forticum pectore, pavore zumi congelati, harenasque torrentes dierum dissertationibus praestitutarum passi sumus, forsan et haec oli memenisse iuabit. Diu expectavimus hanc diem horas dulcissimas visu. Mei amici sidera micantia semper itinera vestra dirigant. Atque vobis spectatoribus, plurimum salutem dico, praesidi eis grubero, magistro intrepido nostri gregis, curatoribus topiariis huius institutiones magnae sub cuius ramis frondeis floruimus, sagacissimis professoribus, quorum sapientia nos in tramites claros obscurosque direxit, felices qui potuerunt rerum cognoscere causas, et parentibus nostris cognatisque, qui nos ab aestatibus primis usque adver juventutis nostrae aluerunt. Gratias vere maximas vobis agimus. In visu sedium carissimarum Princetoniae, vos securos advenisse gaudeo, et omne salvere jubeo. Tametsi haec fabula exitora est, etiam plures prologos aperiuntur. Abiano benedicti, hac die gaudeamus, vera bona que sequamur, et in litera nova cum comitibus delectissimis pergamus. Ventus sit semper secundus, qui velo vestra impleat, nec non tepor qui panem vestrum permanet.
I would like now to introduce University Provost Deborah Prentice, the Alexander Stewart, class of 1886 Professor of Psychology and Public Affairs, who will introduce this year's winners of the Secondary School Teaching Awards.
Thank you, President Eisgruber. Each year at commencement, Princeton honors 4 outstanding teachers selected from the secondary schools of New Jersey. In so doing, we gratefully acknowledge the exceptional contributions of our colleagues who teach in high schools and middle schools. I would like at this time to recognize each teacher individually. They're right over here. You can see them standing. Please hold applause until all the award winners have been recognized. And teachers, please wave when I announce your name. Dr. Mina Armani. Hold your applause. In the words of one of her colleagues, Mina Armani works tirelessly as a role model and mentor for our students. For the past 14 years as a science teacher at Jose Marti STEM Academy, she has utilized her experience in both industry and academia to prepare traditionally underrepresented students for careers in STEM fields. A former student cited her professionalism, motivation, and persistence as key factors in the incredible success of countless students. Jametta Clark. A colleague stated that while learning experience might describe a typical high school classroom, for students in Jametta Clark's social studies classes, it is a life-altering, transformative event. Whether teaching American civilization or principles of economics, leading the planning for the Lawrence High School Black History Month celebration, or founding and directing the school's gospel choir, she brings tremendous energy and passion to everything she does. She understands the importance of developing relationships with all students who cross her path and empowering them through education. Christine Lim. In the words of a fellow teacher, Christine Lim represents the best of what teaching means. For the past 12 years, she has served as an English teacher, mentor, and role model for her students at Pennsauken High School. Her classroom mantra, kaizen, a Japanese word that means constant improvement, reminds her students that self-growth is a goal more worthy than an academic benchmark. A former student noted that it takes a village to support a student, but that village must be filled with caring and optimistic individuals like Ms. Lim. And finally, Andrew Tehran, or T, as his students call him, provides his students at Eastside High School in Newark with the time and space to explore their own ideas and talents in his media and visual arts classes. A colleague explained that he has always admired Mr. Tehran for his ability to make any student feel successful, worthy, and wanted. Former students acknowledge that his teaching extends far beyond the classroom. No matter the responsibilities before him, a district video project highlighting the arts, or building sets for West Side Story, his door is always open for mentorship on a creative project, or even a card game, a space to just be. Please join me in recognizing these teachers' extraordinary contributions to our society's future.
Let me now introduce the Dean of the College and Annan Professor of English and Professor of Theater in the Lewis Center for the Arts, Jill Dolan, who will present the candidates for undergraduate degrees.
Thank you, President Eisgruber. Before I proceed to our official recognition of the class of 2021, let me just say personally how glad and grateful I am that we are here in Princeton Stadium to recognize your accomplishments and achievements. I am especially grateful for the class of 2021's commitments during these past 15 months, your last at Princeton. You worked hard to maintain the academic and social community we so prize, even when circumstances might have conspired to break our bonds apart. You met the challenges of an overturned world and bravely faced a terrifying historical moment. You stayed well, you protected one another and your communities, and you've arrived in full splendor on this glorious day at this poignant moment. We are here, we are together, we are so, so proud. At this time, we recognize the candidates for Princeton University's bachelor's degrees. Let me remind you before we begin that your diplomas and program certificates will be mailed to you after the official conferral of degrees on May 25th, 2021. We begin with the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts. Before presenting you to President Eisgruber, I'll introduce you informally, department by department. Please stand in place as your department is named. I ask your families and classmates and friends to hold their applause until all the undergraduates in each group have been introduced. First, I invite the members of the following departments to stand: Art and Archaeology, the School of Architecture, English, and Music. Warm congratulations to you all. Thank you. Please be seated. And now, the members of these departments: Classics, Comparative Literature, French and Italian, German, Slavic languages and literatures, Spanish and Portuguese languages and cultures, East Asian studies, Near Eastern studies, philosophy, religion, and our independent concentrators. Congratulations to you all. Thank you. Please be seated. May I now ask students from the departments of Anthropology and Economics to stand. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. Please be seated. I now invite to stand students in the departments of African American Studies, Sociology, and the School of Public and International Affairs. Congratulations. Please be seated. Will seniors in these departments now stand? Ecology and Evolutionary Biology, Chemistry, Geosciences, and Molecular Biology. Congratulations. Please be seated. And finally, I invite to stand the seniors receiving Bachelor of Arts degrees in Astrophysical Sciences, Computer Science, Mathematics, Neuroscience, Physics, and Psychology. Congratulations. Please be seated. At this time, all candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts are invited to stand together. President Eisgruber, I have the honor to present to you the candidates expected to complete the scholastic requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Arts.
Auctoritate mehi, accuratoribus universitatis Princetoniensis commissa, vosad gradum, primum in artibus et cum honoribus, ut indicadum admitto.
Congratulations. Please be seated. At this time, we recognize each candidate for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Engineering. Once again, I will invite you to stand in place as your department is named and ask your families, classmates, and friends to hold their applause until all the undergraduates in each group have been introduced. I invite the Bachelor of Science in Engineering candidates in the following departments to rise: chemical and biological engineering, civil and environmental engineering, electrical engineering, and mechanical and aerospace engineering. Congratulations to you all. Please be seated. I now invite to stand BSE students in the departments of Computer Science and Operations Research and Financial Engineering. Congratulations. Please be seated. At this time, I invite all the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Engineering to please stand. Congratulations. President Eisgruber, I have the honor to present to you the candidates expected to complete the scholastic requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Engineering.
Auctoritate mihi, a quatoribus universitatis Brincatoniensis commissa, vosad gradum primum insce inter ingenieris, et cum honoribus, ut indicadum admitto.
Congratulations. Let me now invite the entire class of 2021 to rise as one body. My colleagues and I are very proud of the diversity of who you are and what you have accomplished. Our faculty and our staff have inspired you to think and to learn with rigorous discipline, but always, I hope, with great curiosity and profound empathy. We know that your achievements now and in the future will bring you distinction. We also hope they bring you pleasure and joy. You hold an essential responsibility to transform the world with what you've learned. Each and every one of you has left your imprint on this university, which you've pushed to be better, even in conditions that were extraordinary and frequently difficult. Nonetheless, we were honored by your presence, whether live on campus or virtually on our screens. And now we are graced by your legacy. You leave with our warmest, proudest good wishes and congratulations. Thank you very much. You may be seated.
The faculty elects the valedictorian each year, taking into account special qualifications as well as scholastic ranking. This year's valedictorian is Taishi Nakase, a senior from Melbourne, Australia.
It is one of the greatest honors of my life to be standing before you today. I want to start with some words of gratitude to all the faculty who challenged us and encouraged us to pursue our studies, to the dining and facility staff who fed us and kept us safe, and our friends and family who provided us with love in our moments of sorrow and joy. Thank you. As a student of infectious disease, I have defined for myself a goal that I regard as worthy of all my energies. I hope to join that community of men and women who devote their lives to studying and eliminating the biological scourges that continue to threaten human life. Before March 11th, 2020, my study had been mostly academic, but then the pandemic hit, Princeton closed its doors, and the course of our young lives changed. Infectious disease came home, and I was forced to return to my own. I hadn't spent a great deal of time in Melbourne since leaving for college 3 years before. When I left my father at the airport for the 20-hour flight to Princeton as a first year, I didn't know when I would come back. I was determined to carve out my own path and build the life that my father was denied but had always wished for me. A life not constricted by financial struggle or the limitations of an unfinished education. The freedom he himself did not have. In the middle of my efforts to secure this new life, I was thrown back into my childhood bedroom where I thought I would never sleep in again. All of a sudden, I was alone, and like all of you, I suppose, staring at screens and seeing the fracturing of the life we had been working so hard to build. Yet, in the midst of this grief, I had moments of unexpected happiness. I got to sit down and have dinner with my father once again. It may not seem like much, but it was a joy to be with him. It was just me and him, like it had been for so many years. We talked about his work, my studies, and the latest Netflix release. Growing up, our shared meals had always been a way for us to connect across the divide that his long work hours and my ambition created. And now, I had returned home, and I was my father's son again. I never expected to have these moments with him. I don't know when I will have them with him next. For a brief moment, though, in the remarkably ordinary act of sharing a daily meal, my father and I bridged the gap that my years abroad had created. This pandemic has affected us all in different ways. We have felt alone, we have felt uncertain, we have felt loss and utter loss. Our moments of loneliness, grief, and even private joys ought to be recognized, for they can and should move us. Whether we know it or not, we shared in this aloneness together. I don't want to dwell on the past, but I do want to honor this profound time in our lives when our naive youth was abruptly replaced with a coarse reality filled with both extraordinary loss and ordinary disappointment. In reflecting on our shared moment together, I am reminded of George Eliot's words about a young woman's disappointment at the prospect of her new life. I quote, "Not that this inward amazement of Dorothea's was anything very exceptional. Many souls in their young nudity are tumbled out among incongruities and left to find their feet among them, while their elders go about their business. Nor can I suppose that when Mrs. Casaubon is discovered in a fit of weeping 6 weeks after her wedding, the situation would be regarded as tragic. Some discouragement, some faintness of heart at the new, real future which replaces the imaginary is not unusual, and we do not expect people to be deeply moved by what is not unusual. That element of tragedy which lies in the very fact of frequency has not yet wrought itself into the coarse emotion of mankind, and perhaps our frames could hardly bear much of it. If we had a keen vision and feeling for all ordinary human life, it would be like hearing the grass grow and the squirrel's heartbeat, and we should die of that roar which lies on the other side of silence." Dorothea's feeling of disappointment is by no means extraordinary, but that is Eliot's point. We have all surely felt some faintness of heart and some true loss within this new reality that the pandemic has thrust upon us. Yet, the ordinariness and frequency of our feelings does not diminish their significance. Our disappointment at the loss of all those things we had come to think of as our due, the annoyances of Zoom classes, the uncertainty of our futures, and even my unexpected time with my father, constitute an epic as good as any. My wish for all of us, as we move forward with our lives, beyond Fitz-Randolph Gate and beyond this terrible pandemic, is to find within us a keener sense of sympathy, a sympathy that not only turns towards grand historical feats and game-changing research, but stretches forth to the ordinary acts and feelings of individuals that too often go unremembered and unnoticed. A sympathy, a feeling for ordinary human life, as George Eliot sought to capture in her words. I know we are capable of this sympathy. I know it. I felt it in the food that my father cooked for me as I was struggling with feelings of having lost a portion of my youth. I have felt it and seen it in so many of you, in your efforts to care for the health of your family, your friends, and even people who you may never see again. I have seen it in my professors who acknowledge our challenges and attempt to recreate that intellectual community we had lost. I know there is pressure to do grand things. I feel it too. I don't think I would be here otherwise. Sometimes what is required of us, however, is not to change the world, but rather to recognize what is extraordinary in the ordinary tragedies of our lives and those of others, and try to honor those small, simple acts of kindness that can have so great an effect on those around us. As we find our feet in this new chapter in our lives, I hope that we can develop the courage to hear the roar which lies on the other side of silence and live faithfully with sympathy in our hearts. And so, with wandering steps and slow, we embark on our lives beyond Princeton, at once alone and together in the common joy, loss, and sorrow that we shared here. Thank you, and congratulations to the great class of 2021.
At this time, I would like to introduce Acting Dean of the Graduate School, Cole Crittenden, who will present the candidates for advanced degrees.
It warms my heart to see you graduate students seated at the front, where you rightly belong given your advanced achievements. We look forward to recognizing each of you individually by name at the virtual hooding ceremony on Monday, May 24th. An advanced degree from Princeton honors exceptional accomplishments. Our graduate degree recipients have distinguished themselves through advanced study, through individual contributions and original contributions to their fields that expand and change those fields, and through dedication to public service and to the greater good. Their achievements would be noteworthy in any year. That these candidates for advanced degrees have managed to complete original research, to successfully pass final examinations of their work, and to complete other degree requirements over the past year is truly remarkable. At this time, we recognize the candidates for an advanced degree from Princeton University. Let me remind you at the outset that if your diploma will be conferred by the trustees on May 25th, it will be mailed to you. We begin with the candidates for master's degrees. Before presenting you to President Eisgruber, I will introduce you informally, grouped by discipline. Please stand in place as your degree is named. I ask your families, colleagues, and friends to withhold their applause until all candidates in each group have been introduced. I would like to invite those receiving the Master of Arts, Master of Fine Arts, Master of Arts in Near Eastern Studies, Master of Architecture, Master in Finance, Master of Science in Engineering, and Master of Engineering to stand. Please be seated. I now wish to introduce the candidates for the Master in Public Affairs and the Master in Public Policy and ask them to stand. At this time, all candidates for master's degrees are invited to stand together. President Eisgruber, I have the honor to present to you the candidates expected to complete the scholastic requirements for the master's degree.
Auctoritate mihi, a curatoribus universitatis Brinketoniensis commissa, vos ad gradum secundum admitto.
Please be seated. At this time, we recognize the candidates for the doctor's degree. I will invite you to stand in place as your discipline is named. I invite doctoral candidates in the humanities to stand. Please be seated. Would those receiving the doctoral degree in the social sciences please stand? Please be seated. Next, I invite those in the natural sciences receiving the doctoral degree to stand. Please be seated. Finally, I wish to introduce the candidates for the PhD in engineering and ask them to stand. Will all candidates for the doctor's degree please stand together? President Eisgruber, I have the honor to present to you the candidates expected to complete the scholastic requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy.
Auctoritate mihi, a curatoribus universitatis Brinketoniensis commissa, vos ad gradum doctoris in philosophia admitto. Doctor of Philosophy is the highest academic degree awarded, marking an original and independent contribution to the world of scholarship. I am especially pleased to congratulate those earning a PhD degree. It is a special pleasure to recognize the recipients of the President's Awards for Distinguished Teaching, which honor 4 members of the faculty for a sustained record of excellence in teaching at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. Dean of the Faculty and William R. Kennan, Jr., Professor of Electrical Engineering, Sanjeev Kulkarni, will introduce each award winner.
Thank you, President Eisgruber. I would like to introduce each of the award winners individually. They are here on my left in the stands, and I ask each to stand as I call their name. Neda Bakal, Professor of Astrophysical Sciences. Neda Bakal's colleagues in the Department of Astrophysical Sciences call her the cornerstone and linchpin of the department's undergraduate teaching program. She has served as Director of Undergraduate Studies since 1993 and has mentored more undergraduate junior papers and senior theses than any other faculty member in the department. Professor Bakal has been on our faculty since 1990. She's an astrophysicist and cosmologist specializing in dark matter, the structure of the universe, quasars, and the formation of galaxies. She has led astrophysics to expand its offerings for students who aren't concentrating in scientific fields and has served as the director of the Council on Science and Technology. One of her former students explained that Professor Bakal represents what it means to be a modern woman scientist. Quote, balancing the rigorous academic side with the caring and nurturing side, she has a willingness to push her students, but it never overshadows her ability to build their confidence and self-worth. She has shown me that I can really be it all: partner, mother, mentor, friend, and renowned scientist, and that no roles are mutually exclusive. Congratulations, Professor Bakal. Elizabeth Gavis, Professor of Molecular Biology. Her colleagues are proud that Professor Liz Gavis is a passionate and exceptional teacher in our core undergraduate and graduate courses, as well as an innovative and dedicated director of undergraduate studies. Her co-instructor for Mol 214, Introduction to Cellular and Molecular Biology, which is the gateway course for the department, said that one of Professor Gavis's many valuable contributions to Princeton was to reimagine the molecular biology undergraduate program. Quote, "She has reorganized and rationalized our course offerings and departmental requirements and worked to add courses in areas that are of increasing importance to the field, such as machine learning, microbiology, and imaging. This means that our students are exceptionally well prepared for study after Princeton." Professor Gavis' research bridges the disciplines of RNA biology and developmental biology. Her lab work focuses on post-transcriptional mechanisms like mRNA localization that spatially control gene expression during development. The impact from her teaching was captured in many responses from students, one of whom said, "Liz fostered an environment of rigorous science, but also of teamwork, collaboration, and sharing of skills, knowledge, and ideas." Congratulations, Professor Gavis. James Richardson, Professor of Creative Writing in the Lewis Center for the Arts. Professor James Richardson has provided Princeton students with extraordinary teaching for over 40 years. Tracy Smith, chair of the Lewis Center for the Arts, describes him as, quote, "a remarkable poet, colleague, and teacher, and a person of deep warmth, profound intelligence, and genuine affability." A prize-winning poet, aphorist, and frequent contributor to The New Yorker, his many poetry courses have had an immeasurable influence on students. A former student quotes Jim's aphorism to explain his impact. "Praise my salads or my softball, and I am deified for a day. But tell me I am a great teacher or a greater writer, and you force me to tell myself the truth." The student continued, "Well, listen to this truth. I met a lot of extraordinary teachers at Princeton, but none whose mentorship was as wise, as humane, and as life-changing as Jim's." Congratulations, Professor Richardson. Rory Truex, Assistant Professor of Politics in the School of Public and International Affairs. One of his former students recalled one interaction as the moment he realized how exceptional Professor Truex was as a professor. Quote, "On the very first week of his class, he took 10 minutes prior to the start of lecture to personally introduce himself to every student and to ask for their name. This is in a lecture hall of 117 students, stunned me. His colleagues note his tireless commitment to the Department of Politics, including the time he spent actively serving on multiple dissertation committees, a role in which other assistant professors typically serve infrequently. Professor Truex's research focuses on Chinese politics and theories of authoritarian rule. His undergraduate lecture on Chinese politics has grown from 23 students to 173. As Alan Patton, the chair of politics, says, the popularity of Rory's lecture course is matched by his popularity as an advisor to our PhD students. One former student said, as I developed my dissertation, Rory was a central advocate and champion of the project. Executing a dissertation requires both autonomy and guidance, and a delicate balance that Rory understood and worked hard to find. Rory was always available to share his advice and guidance as I developed the project. I can think of no one who embodies Princeton's commitment to undergraduate and graduate learning more than Rory Truex. Congratulations, Professor Truex. And now please join me in recognizing the contributions of all 4 of these outstanding faculty members to the vitality of Princeton's teaching mission. Members of the faculty and staff who retire from Princeton this year are recognized in the formal commencement program that will be mailed to all recipients. The university is grateful to each of them for their contributions to the Princeton community and their commitment to the fulfillment of the university's mission. Please join me in applause to express our appreciation.
The university orator, alumni trustee, and award-winning broadcast journalist Melanie C. Lawson, member of the class of 1976, will now present the candidates for honorary degrees.
President Eisgruber, I have the honor to present to you in absentia for the degree of Doctor of Music, honoris causa, John Bon Jovi. Born and raised in New Jersey, he's best known as the frontman of a Grammy Award-winning rock band. He's also a thoughtful philanthropist, establishing the John Bon Jovi Soul Foundation in 2006 with a mission to, quote, break the cycle of hunger, poverty, and homelessness. Over the past 15 years, his foundation has helped to do just that, supporting affordable housing for thousands of people across 11 states and serving tens of thousands of meals to New Jerseyans in need. Through his commitment to rebuilding pride in oneself and one's community, one soul at a time, and his joyful contributions to the world of rock and roll, he has taught us we've got to hold on to what we've got each other, and that's a lot. President Eisgruber, Mr. Bon Jovi.
Auctoritate mihi, a curatoribus universitatis Brincatoniensis commissa, te ad gradum doctoris in musica, honoris causa, admitto.
President Eisgruber, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Humanities, honoris causa, Linda Caldwell Epps. This native of Elizabeth, New Jersey, and granddaughter of the Great Migration, came of age in the turbulent 1960s. In college and graduate school, she developed a passion for the history of America, and especially for the untold histories of our nation. She brought that passion to a career serving the people of New Jersey, first as a leader in higher education and public media, and later as president of the New Jersey Historical Society. Today, as CEO of 1804 Consultants, she brings more than 4 decades of experience to bear as she helps New Jersey educational and cultural organizations explore their past, understand the present, and advance their missions for the future. President Eisgruber, Mrs. Epps.
Auctoritate mihi, a curatoribus universitatis Brincatoniensis commissa, te ad gradum doctoris in rebus humanis, honoris causa, admitto.
President Eisgruber, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, John V. Fleming. One of Princeton's legendary lecturers and the recipient of the President's Distinguished Teaching Award, among many other honors, he's an expert in the literature of the Middle Ages, whose illustrious and extraordinary career spans more than 4 decades. Raised on a farm in Mountain Home, Arkansas, he was a Rhodes Scholar and later became the Lewis W. Fairchild Professor of English Literature. An extraordinary university citizen whom colleagues were known to call the funniest man alive, he chaired the English department for years, serving twice as the head of Wilson College, and for nearly 2 decades was chief marshal at Princeton's commencement ceremonies. A widely learned and compassionate scholar, he offered the gifts of his research and teaching, his humility and his humor, and his humane and charitable view of worlds past and present to generations of admiring students. President Eisgruber, Professor Fleming.
Auctoritate mihi, a curatoribus universitatis Princetoniensis commissa, te ad gradum doctoris in litteris humanioribus, honoris causa admitto.
President Eisgruber, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, Russ Holt. His father was a U.S. Senator and his mother a scientist who served as the first female Secretary of State of West Virginia. He followed in his parents' footsteps to become a teacher, a scientist, and an 8-term congressman representing New Jersey's 12th district. Recognizing his Ph.D. in physics, his supporters proudly proclaimed, "My congressman is a rocket scientist." Beyond his service in Congress, he taught at Swarthmore College, held a senior post at the Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory, and was chief executive officer of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, as well as executive publisher of the Science family of journals. Never one to shy away from a challenge, he was also a 5-time winner on the quiz show Jeopardy! An investigator of the mysteries of the universe and a faithful steward of our democracy, he dedicated his life to advocating for science and the people of New Jersey. President Eisgruber, Congressman Holt.
Auctoritate mihi, curatoribus universitatis Princetoniensis commissa, te ad gradum doctoris in legibus, honoris causa admitto.
President Eisgruber, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa, Risa Juanita Laviso More. The child of 2 physicians, she always planned to pursue a career in medicine, and she went on to earn a medical degree from Harvard, followed by an MBA from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. A childhood meeting with Martin Luther King Jr., who in 1966 said, "Of all the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and the most inhumane," that went on to inspire her to broaden her focus beyond healing individual patients to benefiting broader society through medicine. Honored by the Obama administration as a White House champion of change, in her wide-ranging career, she was the chief of geriatric medicine at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine and a member of the White House Healthcare Reform Task Force. For almost 15 years, she served at the helm of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. That's the nation's largest philanthropic organization dedicated to improving public health, where she used her voice, her expertise, and her passion to make a powerful, measurable difference in the lives and the health of millions of people. President Eisgruber, Dr. Laviso More.
Auctoritate mihi, a curatoribus universitatis Princetoniensis commissa, te ad gradum doctoris in scientiis honoris causa admitto.
President Eisgruber, I have the honor to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, Constance Mercer Myers. For 3 decades, she has made it her mission to provide shelter, support, and above all, hope to Central New Jersey's homeless. As the founder and chief executive officer of Homefront, she's mobilized a small army of staff, volunteers, and donors with the goal of empowering families to break the cycle of poverty by overcoming the interlocking obstacles to self-sufficiency, from prohibitive housing costs to inadequate child care to underdeveloped life skills. Homefront's welcoming family campus in Ewing, which exemplifies this multidimensional vision, is a testament to what passionate leadership and selfless determination can achieve. President Eisgruber, Mrs. Myers.
Auctoritate mihi, curatoribus universitatis Princetoniensis commissa, te ad gradum doctoris in litteris humanioribus, honoris causa admitto. I would ask all of our honorary degree recipients to stand once more as they are able, and I would ask our graduates and guests to join me in applauding their outstanding accomplishments. Tradition allows the Princeton president to share a few thoughts with our graduating students at commencement. I regard that as a great privilege in any year, but especially so in this one, when all of you have persevered valiantly and brilliantly to overcome unprecedented challenges. By completing your studies amidst this awful pandemic, you have distinguished yourselves even by the standards of this university's long and illustrious history. And in so doing, you have earned the right to participate in this unique and memorable commencement ceremony, a ceremony that I submit to you provides a surprisingly apt metaphor for the past year. We are together, gathered through creative planning, technological assistance, the tireless work of many people, and a fierce determination to mark with physical presence this important moment in your lives. And yet, as we are together, we are also apart, masked, separated by carefully marked 6-foot intervals, and denied many of the joyous embraces that we would ordinarily exchange on graduation day. Such combinations of separation and sharing have permeated the last 15 months. The separation is obvious. We have endured quarantines and lockdowns. We have learned the term social distancing, which, hard though this is to believe, almost none of us had heard of 2 years ago. We had to give up communal dining, large events, small parties, and interpersonal contact of many kinds. We have met and learned through video conferencing rather than in person. The sharing may be less obvious than the separation, but it is equally real. It begins with the separation itself, and more generally with losses that people throughout the world have endured over the past year. The losses inflicted by COVID-19 have undoubtedly differed significantly from person to person. They have also differed across racial and economic groups, reminding us once again of the need to dedicate ourselves to achieving genuine social justice, not only in this country, but around the world. We should recognize these disparities while also recognizing that in real and meaningful ways, we have shared the anxieties and burdens of this pandemic with people not only throughout this stadium or this country, but across social divisions, international borders, and indeed vast continents. We fight a plague without boundaries, and our experience informs connections we feel with those suffering from the terrible outbreaks afflicting India, South America, and other parts of the globe. To take another smaller piece of this phenomenon, you now share with other graduating college students throughout the world this year a parallel experience of disruption, constraint, challenge, persistence, and achievement in response to this pandemic. Rarely, if ever, has humanity experienced such durable and unfamiliar forms of loss so widely and simultaneously. The last year has also involved sharing in a second sense. Though we have been unable to interact in person, we have connected online in ways that most of us would not have thought possible, and indeed that would not have been possible even a few years ago. Most of us are thoroughly zoomed out and eager to return to physical forms of togetherness. But I doubt that any of us will abandon entirely our new virtual mechanisms of communication. We may perhaps find some wisdom about these newest aspects of human community by considering very old ideas about the topic. 2 millennia ago, Aristotle observed that people must cooperate with one another because they cannot otherwise satisfy their most basic physical needs. But he noted, once people are forced together by their physical needs, they inevitably begin discussing and pursuing ideas about human flourishing. His insight was that because we must make and break bread together, we must form a common good together. As this year's countless Zoom calls vividly illustrate, human technology has transformed, if not diminished or severed, this connection between the physical and intellectual realms of human activity. We can now interact politically, academically, artistically, and socially without ever being in the same room, the same state, or even the same country. What technology made possible, the pandemic made compulsory. For most of this year, we were present to one another in only 2 dimensions, as flattened figures on screens, while our 3-dimensional bodies inhabited vastly different spaces. We shared an emaciated world. It is not enough. The fractious, irritated, angry state of our national politics testifies to that fact. So too, more poignantly, does our presence in this stadium today. We could have deployed technological machinery to produce a whiz-bang virtual commencement, which you could have watched from the comfort of your homes. We concluded, with your vigorous encouragement, that it would be better to sit in this cavernous stadium arrayed across a giant field and surrounding bleachers together 6 feet apart. We lose an essential dimension of the human when we cannot be together physically. If indeed people must forge a common good, because we need to make and break bread together, the pandemic suggests that something like the reverse is also true. Simply put, our long, unwelcome separation teaches us this: to forge a common good together, we must break bread together. We must, in other words, relate to one another not just as disembodied intellects, interests, or ideologies, or as faces in Zoom boxes, but also as real 3-dimensional people who share basic needs and a common humanity. I hope you will bear that idea in mind as you venture into this strange, uncertain world post-Princeton and post-pandemic. I also hope that you will find ways to break bread and reconnect, not only with one another, but also with people far outside your own social circles. As the political philosopher Danielle Allen of the great Princeton class of 1993 has urged in a passage that riffs on Aristotle, we must find ways to convey the techniques and expertise of friendship into the rivalrous realm of politics. We must all recover, renew, and reinvigorate the genuinely human forms of connection so missing from our world over the last year and all too absent, even before the pandemic, from our country's conversations about America's common good. As you venture forth beyond this campus, I hope you will seize the opportunity to build the genuine community that we so urgently need. The journey that commences today will take you into a new and changing world. I am confident that you are well prepared for the challenge. You have excelled here, and you have persisted through the pandemic with extraordinary determination, creativity, intelligence, compassion, and courage. We will need your leadership, your vision, and your dedication to the service of humanity. On behalf of the university, its faculty, administration, Trustees and alumni, I offer you best wishes as you go forth. We hope you will always consider this campus one of your homes and that you will return often so that we can be together again in the future, together again without also being 6 feet apart. I and all of my colleagues extend our sincerest congratulations on this happy day to all of Princeton's doctoral and master's degree recipients and to Princeton University's great class of 2021. Congratulations. At the conclusion of the benediction and after the performance of Old Nassau by the University Glee Club under the direction of Gabriel Crouch, guests are requested to remain in their places until the platform party and degree candidates have left the stadium. The benediction will now be pronounced by Dean Thames.
Hear now this benediction. This year you have had to endure much more than you ever imagined to make it to this moment. This moment that will culminate your academic journey here at Princeton University will be forever marked by these unrivaled times. As you go into the world, may you be blessed. May you have wisdom beyond academic scholarship to use the gifts and resources around you in the nation's service and the service of humanity. May you have courage, hope, and imagination that leads you down paths untrodden into limitless possibilities. May you have communities of care, encouragement, love, and support to walk with you through the beautiful moments of life and when this world breaks your heart into a million pieces. Now leave this place knowing that nothing can separate you from your highest and best self, the great source of knowledge. Class of 2021, may you be a blessing. Amen.
Let all with one accord rejoice.